Hey, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Jonathan.
Well, hello.
We got a lot to talk about today, including A24 is developing an Elden Ring movie. We're going to talk about that feud on the Avengers Doomsday set, some of the comments made by Kumail Nanjiani about the Eternals and MCU's big plans, and then we're going to be reviewing Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1 and 2. Jonathan, let's start off with our question of the week. News came out, everybody's been wanting Alan Ritchson to play Batman. Got the build, he's a freaking beast, and he plays Reacher, and he's got a lot of cool stuff. So he came out and said, look guys, I'm not playing Batman, but I did meet with James Gunn to discuss some things, and while he doesn't think he's gonna be playing Batman, he says I will be playing something in the DCU. So I took to our TikTok and asked everybody over there what they think, but before we get into that, do you have any ideas on who you think Alan Ritchson should play?
So absolutely. When I see him, the first person that comes to my mind, it's like, I mean, I didn't even have to like look anybody up, which I'm always having to research most of these characters and stuff. The first thing that came to my head was the classic comic book Aquaman. The new Aquaman makes more sense, but the classic comic book Aquaman, I mean, so the picture from TikTok was him as, you know, tailored to be more like Batman, but and other things that he's in, he's got that light colored hair, just that square, broad build and everything. He looks to me just like the comic book Aquaman perfectly. If not him, then Green Arrow would be kind of good too. I don't know.
I would.
Green Arrow is also a similar build. Yeah.
Well, Green Arrow's not as big. Like this guy's all muscle. Like he's a freaking forklift. So, but it's funny you bring up Aquaman because I know you don't know Alan very well. He actually played Aquaman before in Smallville.
Oh, did he?
That's like his first role.
Oh, maybe that's why it just like comes to mind immediately. Maybe I already seen him. Yeah.
But he was a kid back then. He wasn't as strong as he is now. Like now he's built like, you know, a big buff guy.
Make Smallville canon and there you go. Make it part of the same world. And he just aged into this character now.
You know, Daniel's not even here and he just got a shiver because you said that. So
yeah, he probably did.
I think that's a very good option. All right. So let's look at what everybody on TikTok is saying. So we have FBN who says, double down. Let's do Aquaman again. We got Love is in the Air that says, hey, if everybody wants him to play Batman, let him play Batman. Jason Wright says Solomon Grundy. Do you know Solomon Grundy?
No.
Yeah, so he's like basically an undead zombie guy, mob boss. Very cool character. He kind of plays a good guy and bad guy. He goes a little bit back and forth. Let's see what we have here. We also have, you know, this guy Will saying Aquaman as well. Here's one that came up a couple times. So Bad Monkey says Absolute Batman. So that's the newer run of Batman right now that's going on, all the Absolute comics. It's kind of like the edgier version of all of them. And that version of Batman is like nearly 7 feet tall. He's not a billionaire. He's a blacksmith. So he's like insanely buff because he's a blacksmith. His whole thing is that he has an axe. That's actually the bat symbol. It comes off. It's an axe that he wields. And it's like, yes, he is exactly Absolute Batman's build.
That sounds like Shaquille O'Neal's steel.
He looks like, when he's out there like just being buff as hell. Yeah, definitely. We have two people that are saying, so we got Michael Gonzalez saying that it should be Bane. I could see Bane for him. And then one of them I thought was a good idea is Chris Lee Owens, especially if we see kind of the beginning stages, is that he plays Killer Croc. Because then because he's so big that he could be imposing on everybody around him. So if you have him later on becoming Killer Croc, I could see that too, like a bigger, wider person. That'd be really good. I just really want him to play Batman, frankly. I think he's a really good character for it. The actor himself, I've seen a lot of interviews with him and stuff like that. He's just a good person to be in the DCU, just like it is with, you know, a lot of the other actors that James Gunn surrounds himself with that are just like nice people. So is Alan. So I think Batman is still my vote, but yeah, there's a really good choices out there. I think Bane too, or a Deathstroke. If he could be Deathstroke, it'd be dope.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. We have a lot of responses over on TikTok. I appreciate that. We'll try to do our questions of the week on TikTok and Threads. But it just happened to be TikTok this time, and we had a really good response to that. Let's get into the news. We have some A24 is working on an Elden Ring movie, and they're tapping some really good people on this. First off, Jonathan, how familiar with Elden Ring? I know I'm too shitty to play that game, and you play less games than me.
Yeah, I haven't played it at all. But is it in the Lord of the Rings world, or is it just similar?
So it's nothing to do with Lord of the Rings, but it's written by George R. R. Martin and the game developers. So it does have like a really extensive lore system. But to me, I'm so bad I can't get out of the starting zone because it's all about that dodge, parry, move, yada, yada, yada. And I don't know what it is, man. My fingers don't move fast enough anymore. I'm not a young man. Can't do it.
Yeah, but I know A24 has been knocking it out of the park lately, so anything that they're sinking their teeth into is probably going to be good.
Yeah, and they tapped Alex Garland. Now, here's a couple movies that Alex has done. I know you know a couple of these. So first off, 28 Days Later, 28 Years Later, both very good. Did Annihilation, very good. He did Ex Machina, fantastic. And the one that I know you really liked was Civil War. He did Civil War as well. So he definitely has a good working relationship with A24. And he's such a fan of Elden Ring. This was kind of his idea. He goes to Noah, who's the guy like in charge of acquisitions over at A24, shows him the game. Says, I want to make a movie for this. And Noah, quote, fuck yeah. The guy that's in charge, the executive at A24 says that. And then he's like, but you got to write like kind of a script for this to pitch it to them. And he wrote a 160-page script, just like, I got this. He's so into it. And he wrote the 160 pages. Then they flew out to Japan to pitch it to them. And they're like, yes. And so now this is happening. And I think Alex Garland's a great choice for this. What do you think about his work?
I think, I love his work, especially like I forgot the Civil War was him too. Yeah. That's such a good movie. But I love that he has this enthusiasm because we can only benefit from him being so excited about a project like this. And he's a true fan of the original source content, which is, I mean, it's a win-win for us because he's going to, treat it with respect and not just try to twist it and distort it to what fits his, liking because he likes the original content too. Yeah. And we know he's a great director and he has the passion behind, making this to come to the big screen. So I think it's just going to be a win-win for all of us.
And I love how big this world is too. One of the big appeals to me of playing Elden Ring is like the sprawling landscape. And they made a movie called The Green Knight, which I don't think enough people saw. It's really kind of an old school fairy tale, but a part of that movie was just these giant scopes, like Scottish countryside kind of thing. So if they can kind of bring that back, but it was dark fantasy as well. Like there's a weird thing where it's like nowadays scary movies are about like jump scares or maybe it's a little bit eerie. But back in the day, the idea of scary, like when you're telling fairy tales, was going into a moist, dark forest and meeting a character that you're not sure what they're hiding and stuff. And that movie had a lot of that. It was very interesting. And so I could see them kind of bringing back some of that directing into this and make something that feels spooky and dark and gross, but also sprawling and big bosses. So I think that'd be really fun.
I love seeing that they're turning video games into other entertainment and movies, especially nowadays. I mean, movies and TV shows, because it's such good writing and it's been tested. Like the fans walk through the story step by step and determine whether it's a good story or not. And through that process, you can kind of take some shortcuts or weed out plots that don't make sense or something like that. But yeah, I think everybody wins from it.
I think the key nowadays, we talked about it before, but is they're starting to listen to the actual fans. Like, we want this game. Don't just like use the name and make some garbage. Mario's the example, right? The 93 Mario was like, but that was not the story of Mario in any way. So I think people are actually listening to the actual, game story.
I think the real question is though, when they just pour a bunch of money into it and they take something iconic like Mario and we're going to make a movie and it doesn't match anyone's expectations, but it still does good. Does it make enough money to be worth their time and effort? And then on the flip side, if they listen to us and say, hey, we want a specific Elden Ring, story, does that also, which one makes more money? Because being true to the fans' wants might not catch enough of a wide spectrum, the general public, versus something that they're just turning out based on their statistics or their algorithm or whatever that's telling them, oh yeah, Mario will sell, and if we make it punchy and bright colors and stuff like that, then the kids will watch it and families will go see it and whatever. I wonder which one will pay out better, which one's going to have the longevity to it, you know what I mean?
See, I think like 5 years ago we were in a real algorithmic mindset where it's like, well, if it's Mario and like we use this tint of blue in the advertisements, it'll get them to go more. But if we see kind of what's been going on lately, like Apple TV Studio, if you were to pitch that, you wouldn't assume that wouldn't do well. But now it's one of Apple's most successful shows and they already greenlit the second season. And it's all about like really good writing, really creative cinematography, and amazing performances. And it's like, oh, you went all quality. And that made the show very successful. Just like Severance, again, Apple TV as well. They kind of lean that way. So I think that we might be in an era, the very interesting era, where people are hungry for well-made stuff again and are willing to take a chance on kind of delivering that, you know?
Mm-hmm. We kind of got burnt out with a streaming system, and now we're kind of returning to wanting to get the art back into entertainment.
The Marvelification of everything, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch every single Marvel movie that comes out, and frankly, that's probably the problem. But there is a point where it's like, okay, I get that the formula works on me, but you could also give me something new. And I think that's where something like Thunderbolts thrives, when it's like, hey, it's sure it's the Marvelification, but what if we tell you the story of depression? You know, something like that.
Exactly. Let's add a little to it.
Yeah, I think, and also, do you feel like there's something where the benefit to game adaptations that maybe it was lost on them beforehand, but it's working now, is that you don't have to gamble so much on the story working or not, because it already has worked on a different audience. So you're going to get them in because the Elden Ring name, but the Elden Ring story already captivated them. Or like The Last of Us is a really good example of this. Like, you know, The Last of Us story is going to work well because it already works famously good in the game. So just tell that story again.
Like, yeah, because it's especially if it's a game that's story driven. If you're playing a game
well said.
that doesn't have hardly any story to it, and you're just kind of wandering around like, say, Minecraft, then they have to make up a story to go along with it. And that's new writers making a new story. But if you play The Last of Us because not necessarily the mechanics are super unique or anything like that, but the story is so deep and engaging, it makes you want to play this game and tell your friends to play it and stuff like that, then perfect. That's already a story that was written well, tested by an audience, and the content, I mean, you can, the creators of the movie or series can play through the game and find, you know, oh yeah, there is a little plot hole here, or there's, you know, a segment we could skip to kind of cut out and jump to the next stage, a time lapse or whatever right here. So, I mean, it's so much more prepared for them, I'd say.
You know, that reminds me, one of the games that everybody's talking about this year that's kind of came out of nowhere is this Clair Obscura Expedition 33. And it was so different because it's basically like the French's interpretation of a Japanese game. And so like the world is very French, everything is in French and stuff like, or, you know, French leaning. And it's such a fantastic story in a world I wanted to explore more. The art style is so different that I'm like thinking now what we're talking about now, that would be a phenomenal movie. The only reason I have not finished that game is because I was pissed off they killed off my favorite character. And I was like, fuck this, you know? Yeah. And looking back at it now, I'm like, oh, I was emotionally invested in it enough for that to be a thing. So
definitely, yeah, that's good writing. It makes you mad. It's genuine emotions.
Exactly. I was, one of my favorite things to do is watch, you know, the TikToks where people were like filming their wife or husband when they're like first seeing something, and the red wedding is one of the best too. We're like, no, it's just like, and it's like 5 of those in a row, you know.
How many people break their TVs?
Yes. Oh my God. Oh yeah. I was just finished the Cowboys documentary too, where it's like they talk about the drought. The last episode's about the drought. We've had 30 years without a Super Bowl, and there's a good segment of it where it's just Cowboy fans breaking their TVs with their fists, and it's like, I've been close. I have been close to that. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a great documentary, guys. Check it out, especially if you're a Cowboys fan. I'm a little biased. All right, so we have the filming for Doomsday going on, Avengers Doomsday, and we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Matter of fact, they have D23 going on right now. Not a lot of details out of D23. It's not why we're not talking about it right now. They did just reveal the official logo, and that's like a big deal. But one of the things that's been going on is rumors spread that, oh, there's a big fight going on, and it's actually changing how they're having to film the movie. And we were kind of, unfortunately, I was a part of this amongst my friends, sharing like, who do you think it is? Oh, I bet it's this person. And the drama was exciting. And so some of the details, quote unquote details we got from like Times of India and other sources, is that it was between such big stars that one of the stars Marvel went to and said, we will give you anything to just not let this fight ruin this movie. And we'll film your guys' scenes away from each other. You guys won't actually be in the same room when you're filming these scenes. Like a lot. So when that came out, I was like, oh, RDJ then. He's so big and the movie is so dependent on Doom that if you're willing to give him anything, it's got to be RDJ. And so if you got Robert Downey Jr. on one side, who would fight with him? And then some people initially was, oh, it's Pedro Pascal because it's the other actor that's so big right now that it would become a problem. And then it boiled out, oh no, it's Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds is known to be a little bit cocky and his character is and the idea is that, oh, there's a joke said to RDJ that's a little bit too close. And so it started this fight. Well, I will admit that, again, I spread these rumors myself amongst my friends. And People magazine finally came out and was like, we have sources that are on set. First off, Ryan Reynolds is not there. Secondly, there's no fight. They're going along. And if you guys look at the sources of who originally reported this, it was very shaky sources. And so rumors spread. And I think Disney kind of doesn't mind a rumor spreading a little bit because then people are like, oh, we're talking about Avengers, so there's a little bit of that.
There's no publicity is bad publicity, right?
Yeah. What's your take on like scoopers and following filming so closely that you're worried about how relationships are going on set? Because I am definitely on the negative side of that for sure. I'm part of the negative side of that.
Yeah, there's good and bad to it. Like you were just saying now, it's Disney kind of likes that excitement building, and we like the excitement building behind the development of a movie or TV show that we want to see. We like to see like, oh, there's a new actor on set. We didn't know this guy was going to be in the movie, or we were able to see the new Superman costume before the posters were released.
Right, yeah.
Things like that. Like it builds hype. But it just like it's for positive, it could be for negative too. There could be rumors like this that just start because somebody wants clickbait and they want to, get so many followers or whatever. So this stuff can be so easily fabricated just by, you can know that two actors are on the same set at the same day and just start some fake news just to get everybody's attention. So it's good and bad. I think either way, like we're saying, Disney benefits from it because we're talking about something they're working on. And even if it's about arguments between the actors, the sad thing is it could very easily negatively impact the actors who are just at work that day on set trying to make their thing. And then they hear from somebody like, oh, did you see the TikTok? Apparently you guys are fighting again. And like, dude, what are you talking about? We're doing just fine. We're just trying to do our jobs. Like, but it's going to give one or the other bad reputation. Like we saw, and all the accusations, I think in the end it was all dropped, but for Jack Sparrow, what's his name again?
You're killing me now, Jonathan. You're absolutely killing me because I don't remember the name. Oh my God, I can't remember his name.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Oh, there's people screaming at their iPods.
I know, right? Who threw their phone already? No, but yeah, like all the stuff that happened with Johnny Depp, like in the end he was, I don't know if it was acquitted or all the charges were dropped. All dropped. He was found to be innocent of what he was being accused of, but his reputation had already been dragged through the mud. He was pulled off of projects, and he's just, at this point, probably not acting anymore for, at least 5-10 years, but it's just such a shame because he was at such a high point in his career and doing so good and everybody liked him. And then, it's the same kind of stuff where people just want to get attention, want to see if they could, profit off other people suffering or something like that, to where, it has a huge negative impact on actors that we love to watch, that we're big fans of what they produce. And of course, there's both sides of that too, where we saw Kang, the actor that played Kang, in domestic violence situations or whatever, and that was exposed and found to be true. And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy, we shouldn't be supporting him because he actually is doing terrible things at home. Both sides need to be, or that side needs to be exposed, but we don't need to be making up stuff. So, like we say all the time, listen to the different sources, but check your sources. Make sure that they're credible. Don't necessarily spread this stuff like wildfire until you know that where you're hearing this from is, mostly credible. Or have a disclaimer when you're telling friends like, oh yeah, I heard this thing, but it was just a random TikToker. I don't know if any of it's true, but this is what I'm hearing, because that's where I get most of my news now, is just random TikTokers, unfortunately.
Well, I am one of those random TikTokers, I believe. And the way I said that, I sounded so one of those random TikTokers, like I really had to make sure to spell it out.
Tickety-tack-talkers.
Tickety-tack. So I personally did not mention any of the rumors until we had a source that I trusted. And then at that point, I cleared it up. And there seems to be a lot of people who agreed with that idea. But you're so right. Jonathan Majors is the one that played Kang. And
that's it, Jonathan.
That was one of those things where I was like, look, he's being, charged with domestic violence. So that was a good thing to bring out. And I think, so now let me ask you this then. Nowadays, back in the day, the old saying was good press or bad press, press doesn't matter as long as you get attention, essentially. I know I messed that saying up for sure.
All publicity is good publicity.
Thank you, Jonathan. Boy, what is it called? It's because we record at 6:30 in the morning. So let me ask you this. Is that still valid today in a world where we have so much social media?
Yeah, maybe not. That's a good point, because it could get an individual, because of this whole what's it called? Cancel culture, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
where people can flip against somebody so easily, and they could say, you know what, Disney keeps hiring these, crooked people or aggressive, domestic violent people or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to watch anything Disney now. And like, some things it just takes one person posting something that really connects with certain people, and it spreads like wildfire and could become a movement based on absolutely nothing or based on, lies. So it's really hard. You got to be careful how you present this kind of information, or make sure it's truthful beforehand, and give Disney the opportunity to say, hey, we didn't know this stuff was going on. Like, we don't support that. We don't encourage it. We didn't realize we were hiring somebody doing a bad thing. Like, we'll straighten this out the best we can, because obviously we've seen that they're doing their best to do so.
Yeah. And this really reflects on the next thing that's on our list anyway, so we'll bring this in too. When something has a negative, let's say a review, or people are talking negatively about it, people won't go and see it. You have not seen Eternals. And Eternals, they put a lot of money in Eternals. They thought this was the next wave for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the bad reviews, somebody who watches basically every Marvel movie, you didn't go see it.
Mm-hmm.
I presume it was just because of the critics, correct?
Mostly, yeah. And I mean, it's I'm not sure. It came out like 2 years ago, right? My son was still really small. It's hard to make it to the theaters.
Yeah, it was that era, right? Like 2021, I think, actually. But yeah.
Yeah. So it was just not a great time to be in the theaters much. But yeah, marketing wasn't amazing for it. I don't think it didn't really catch my attention all that much. And yeah, the reviews were bad. So I was just like, okay, I'll save my time and not even watch this one. I'll catch the next one. There'll be another MCU movie out in a few more weeks. I'll just wait for that one to come.
Yeah. And I think that might have been merited for that particular movie in a lot of ways. But I think when we're looking at the wider scope of things, so many times I'm like, oh, give it a shot. No. Squeaks just watched Kraven the Hunter. And he's like, look, it's not a great movie, but it's not as bad as everybody says it was. And I probably would have watched it if I didn't think that. Or I probably, I would have watched it at the time. He watched it now. And I was like, I know. I went over to my folks' house and they were watching it. Like, have you seen this movie? It's so good. And it's like, no, because it's trash. And then I sat there and watched it. I'm like, it's not the worst thing ever. It's definitely better than Madam Web. And I watched that one. And so, but Madam Web turned my stomach so much on Sony's movies that I didn't bother giving the next one a shot, which was Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
So
it's a shame.
And Miguel swears by Kraven the Hunter, by the way. I think it's like,
really?
Yeah, I think it's the not superhero fans superhero movie. So there's something there for him. Yeah.
That's a good point. But see, we see that what was it, like The Penguin is such a good series, and it's not really in the superhero realm, but it's kind of like in its orbit. So maybe there's a whole nother category of that we haven't recognized yet.
Yeah. God, Penguin was so good. So speaking of Eternals, Kumail Nanjiani, who played Kingo, he was doing an interview this week, and he mentions that when he was signed on for that movie, Eternals was such a big movie. He was, and of course he's been doing well. It's not like he was needing cash, but they approached him to play a character, and it was like, oh, this will be life changing. I'm going to go from a star to a superstar, a celebrity for sure, And they signed him on for 6 movies and to play in a video game and to have all the rights and his images for comic books, stuff like that. So he's like, holy shit, this is going to be my life for the next 10, 15 years. The movie comes out, negative reaction by the viewers, by the press, by everybody. And suddenly it all gets dumped on the actors. And I was like, well, it's a Marvel machine, you got to kind of think of that way. It impacted him so heavily mental health wise. He had to go to therapy over this. And he had to really kind of like get himself out of a hole. And it's amazing to see like Marvel, it's such a churning machine that like sometimes it leaves people in its wake. Like Kumail Nanjiani, Kingo was a good character. There were many good characters, and he jokes around even like, problem is there was too many characters in Eternals. That's very accurate. There are way too many characters in that movie. But Marvel could definitely bring him back for something in the future. But because they left him in the wake of such bad reviews and stuff like that, didn't give him the support that he needed at the time, it feels like, he got burnt by Marvel. Why would he want to work with him again,
Yeah, and I think that's a big failure on Marvel's part, is when they're getting the bad press and bad reviews and stuff like that, they got to support their actors and say, hey, we did a good job. The director should come out and say, hey, you guys don't like it. I'm sorry about that. We want to hear why, but it's not the actor's fault. They did if you can watch the movie and call out a certain actor that just doesn't deliver the lines well or something like that, that's different. But if the acting was good overall, then yeah, just because they're the face of the movie doesn't mean that they should be taking this brunt force of where the failure was, because it was probably somewhere in writing or marketing or I don't know, some of the production of the movie, but not necessarily the acting.
Yeah, a couple of the problems that they ran into this movie too, and this kind of shows that era, when they were just making like Shang-Chi, I think is fantastic, and it's like, when's the sequel coming out? We don't have anything on. They say they're working on it, but come on. So looking into this further, a couple of things that they had built up for this: 2 post-credit scenes. They planned on it basically launching off a whole new phase for Marvel. This is going to be sort of the replacement for X-Men as it was in the comics for a bit there. They had a celebrated filmmaker. They had Chloe Zhao, if I'm saying that correctly, who did a lot of really good stuff. They had her coming in for this. They had an insanely good cast. I mean, Angelina Jolie was in this. A ton of really good people. Right? Kit Harington and Rob Stark, Richard Madden were both in this.
Man,
yeah. And then they thought like, oh, we'll evolve it around mythology, so that makes it more universal. And this like mythology era will be, like the new cosmic thing. Like it'll be the new phase. Like, oh, we got magic with Doctor Strange. We're going to introduce a new one now. It's with mythology, which like for me that plays, but not for a lot of people, but they thought this will be it. So they bet really big on this. Where it stumbled is when it came out, the things that they've had learned was that the reception was not good. It did not match what their plans were. They had just assumed it was going to hit this benchmark. And when it didn't do that, suddenly every single plan had to change immediately, no matter the contract. They found out that this movie was all set up and no payoff. So at the end of the movie, you were left with, wow, so this is what we got going on in the future. But you didn't have an end to that story, really. It didn't feel like you did.
That's so disappointing. Yeah.
And how Marvel does that sound, right?
Yeah, man. And like at the end, did they at least announce the sequel that's coming? Like, does it explain this? Oh, don't worry. This is...
It tells you like the next 4 or 5 movies they have planned after that. Black Knight movie. It sets up, can't remember his name, but it's Thanos' brother. I mean, it set up a bunch of things that we have never got. The Celestial, like the big, island Celestial that's out there that they eventually deal with the new Captain America. Like all these different things were like, oh my God, this is new. And everything gets dropped because the movie doesn't do well. So you're like, what are you going to do? Where's Black Knight right now? I love Black Knight, Kit Harington's character. And so they really left a lot of things open.
Shame.
Yeah.
So I think that's another failure we're seeing in Disney is that it's a business. They're there to make money. I get it. Yeah. I like money too. But it's like they're too afraid to lose a little bit of money in the process. So as soon as something doesn't meet their $500 million benchmark or whatever it is, like, oh crap, backpedal, put it in reverse. We gotta, cancel this and everything that's related to it. And it's like, no, okay, you're gonna have some movies that come out a little under your expectations, but you have some that skyrocket way beyond your expectations.
Yeah.
Scrape a little bit off the top of that one to cover the other one, and you guys are okay. Like, keep making good movies, put all your effort into making it good, and every once in a while it's still gonna come short. Doesn't mean it was a bad movie. It just didn't make the money you expected it to. Sometimes the social environment is going to be a little bit different where that movie's not going to hit just right.
Well, that reminds me, like right now we have Bob Iger that came back to the company a couple years ago, and now he's working with Kevin Feige to kind of like reinvent Marvel and kind of clean things up. And he had something to say about Thunderbolts, saying the movie's good. This is what we learned from Thunderbolts.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Marco has a lot to say about Thunderbolts. He's a big fan. Hey, Marco. But one of the keys was that he says, just because the movie didn't make money, that's because the characters weren't big, but we still liked the way that film was made. And it was like, oh, good, you're taking something away from a movie that technically didn't do well, although we know it was good, So that's some smart stuff there, I think.
And I thought it was really good. And it's on streaming now, too. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, check it out.
Yeah. So the 3 big tentpole things that they learned. Here's the big 3 lessons they learned from Eternals and going forward. First off, do not mistake infrastructure for inevitability. They thought they knew what they were doing so well, that all the contracts work so well, that we're just going to keep making hits. And so they mix that up. Infrastructure is not inevitability. The next thing they learned is keep the door open, but the funnel narrow. So try new things, but don't bring in so much with that new thing. Try it with a new character. And I think that's kind of what we're learning nowadays, right? We're getting these kind of newer trying out characters. I think it's a smart move. And then the last thing that they learned real quick is prestige plus scale is not a strategy by itself. So just because you have amazing actors and it looks cool if it doesn't have good story, it's not going to work. That's not the strategy going forward.
Yeah. And like you can tie these threads to connect movies to other movies, but they can't be the rope to your bridge. You can't expect, if this movie fails, you can't stop the other movies you had planned coming forward, moving forward.
Yeah.
So you should always plan it out to where it's great that we have some interconnectivity between the movies. We want to see characters carry over and things like that. But if you make it to where it's a complete pivot point and maybe the movie doesn't do good and you keep moving along with the story anyways, but if the movie's so bad that you want to get rid of a character or something like that, if you already boxed yourself into the corner because you made your whole story pivot on that, then you're not able to make those changes. So, or to make it a lot harder to make those changes.
Do you still have the same faith in Marvel now that you did maybe 10 years ago?
I think it's just different. It's like a growing relationship, right? Like, we were in a love butterfly in the stomach phase early on.
Yeah.
The first 5-10 movies they made, they were knocking it out of the park. And now it's like they're struggling to find a footing for the new generation, I think, or the next season of Marvel movies. And we see it, but, we're still going to stick around because we still like them and they still did good for us before. So
yeah,
I think I'm willing to go through some of the growing pains to see where they come out later on. And you have to know it's not going to be the same as, Iron Man 2 or something like that. But hopefully it's something that we like and the broad spectrum of fans like, including, unfortunately, the new generation that has very different tastes than us.
Those damn Gen Zs, those Gen Alphas.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right too. And I think I like the idea of it being a relationship because now we're in the phase where in the beginning it was like, oh, no, they can't do anything wrong. I'm madly in love.
Yeah.
And now it is that thing where it's like, you recognize the patterns and you're like, well, they're going to do this again, stuff like that.
Right.
But like,
you hear their snoring.
But then something comes out where you're like, that's why I fell in love with you, So there is definitely that mix and balance. That is an actual mature relationship. That's what we have with Marvel. And it's weird to say that with a company, but it's very true. It's been a long relationship now. Marvel's been around in people's lives longer than some of their wives and husbands. So,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. Next up, we're going to go into our Peacemaker review. All right, so we're going to be talking about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1 and 2. Jonathan, you have not watched it yet. You're a very busy man, but you're going to be asking me questions as we review this show.
Yes. I haven't watched it, and I had time to. It kills me. I didn't realize the new episodes came out already. I started watching King of the Hill instead.
Oh, that's so good too, right? Doesn't it feel like it's the old days again?
It's the writing and everything is just exactly like it used to be, so it's cool. But yeah, I had time. I could have caught these 2 episodes up and forgot about them. But yeah, let's go over a few questions. So in general, how did the first 2 episodes of the show make you feel? Does it have the same kind of energy and vibes and heart that the first season had, or is it starting to pivot a little bit?
So one of the things that sets up pretty quickly in the first episodes is the idea that they were successful last season, but you must remember that everybody in this world thinks they're shitheads. And so you're like, man, that sucks. They saved the world and they're not getting the credit for it anymore. Or they never got the credit for it. It always goes to Superman or whatnot. They did a really creative thing, by the way, where at the end of, and this is a spoiler warning, but just that's where we're at. So at the end of last season, I'm sure you remember where you saw Aquaman and Flash and like the DCEU's Justice League. Well, they retconned it all with the flashback, like when they're doing like last season on Peacemaker. And they just, every time it did anything with the old DCU, they just changed it. So now you actually see like Mr. Terrific, our Superman, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern were there. And so it's really fun how James Gunn just like, it's going to work. We're just going to make that happen without any explanation. But it does suck to see our lovable group of losers are still losers. And you want the best for them because they're the lovable ones,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so with these characters we fell in love with in the last season, in the first couple episodes, have they really focused on any of them? Have any of them changed much over time or been elevated in these first 2 episodes?
I think a key point is how alone they are because they've kind of scattered into the winds a little bit. They're still trying to stay connected, but they've all got, things have happened. And specifically, we're seeing Chris. He feels like he's forgotten. He's grown a lot as a character over the first season. And so we're seeing him kind of regret his past and wanting a better future. And his relationship with Harcourt, who was somebody who gave everything she had to Argus, to American government, now being treated as like, well, you're a little toxic, you're a little dangerous, we don't want you around. And like not having a purpose destroys her. So she needs that purpose. And just that's kind of going along with everybody else in the crew too, where they needed a goal like stopping the butterflies from the first season to feel united. And this one, they feel like they're all kind of adrift and forgotten people. And so watching them trying to forge life together again after such a catastrophic event is interesting to see. Like, but when they are together, they click. There are these little pairings we're seeing where it's like, man, you guys all need to be in the van again. We just got to get you guys a new mission. The key thing going on right now, and we saw it was a little tidbit, and James Gunn had mentioned that he loves taking something that was a throwaway thing from something and then like making that the new story. And the throwaway thing from last season was that Peacemaker's dad, Chris's dad, had a doorway that went to a folding dimension where he stored things in. And in this season, the whole thing is, well, when you open that, actually what's in there is 99 doors to other dimensions. And Chris finds one of those dimensions is a world where everything goes well for his family. His dad's rich. They're very famous superheroes. His brother is still alive. He didn't kill his brother when he was a kid. And so he has a really beautiful heart to heart with his brother Keith, played by the asshole boyfriend from The Office for Pam in the first couple seasons. He's a good actor. He's just always going to be, to me, the asshole boyfriend. Roy, yeah.
That's funny.
And so there's that complication of like Peacemaker wants to be in that world instead. So is there escaping there and stuff like that? There's all kinds of questions going around that,
Quick question. In that perfect world or that better life, is his dad still super racist?
So here's the thing, okay? We're discussing this all on Challenge Accepted every week. And during the last breakdown, I was pitching to James, who's guest starring right now over there, that I think they are. Because if you look at like the newspaper clippings that are on the walls, it does show like, oh, the trio of heroes are doing good. They just beat Rainbow Man and like Environmental Man. Like it's all like very, quote unquote woke superheroes. So I'm thinking that in this world, yes, they are aggressive assholes that are so racist, but that is accepted. And I think that's where it's going to run into a problem where our Peacemaker is a better man now. And he's going to be like, wait a second, I think that might be something that butts up against him,
That's cool. I like that whole plot idea. That's great.
Yeah. It's almost like a Watchmen aspect thing too. It's like where in Watchmen, they sometimes glorify the violence as, heroism or The Boys is another good example of that too.
Yeah, exactly. And then we could see a flip perspective where the whole time we were rooting for them, but come to find out they're actually the villains of their own story.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay. Another one is there a specific scene or moment from these episodes that really stands out? Do you think was well done?
Yes. Well, there's a famous scene in the first. There's a lot of really good scenes. I like the one where he's being interviewed to join the Justice Gang with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl in the first episode because they accidentally have the mic on, so he hears them talk shit about him. But it just it reflects back to this idea where it's like Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion, so well, being this like thinks he's better than absolutely everybody, talking shit. It's like, dude, you're Guy Gardner. You're the crappiest of the Green Lanterns, not even of Justice Gang. And but that whole thing of like making him feel like nothing, and we see it kind of with Deadpool and the Avengers as well, in a lot of ways, where it's like they'll save the world a million times over, but they just will never be accepted because of who they are, and like what does that mean for you? I think it's very interesting to explore that. And then in episode 2 where they have this party together, watching how it's like, man, immediately it clicks again as soon as they all have this like little get together again. And because they're welcoming back Economos, they don't know that Economos is actually being sent by Argus to spy on Chris. So he's actually been in town the whole time spying on Chris as part of his job. But they welcome him back as just like he's back. And it was just like, man, why can't you guys just stay together? You guys are the 11th Street gang again. So, it's little fleeting moments like that where you're just like, oh, they're still there. We just got to find something to unite them again.
Yeah. So you mentioned before this theme from last season about being loneliness and stuff.
Yeah.
Can you see the theme throughout this season so far? Can you already tell what their overarching story is?
Message? I think one of the things is going to be, finding the purpose in your life, or maybe finding the goodness in your life, whatever. I think a big part of this season is going to be Chris thinking that across that doorway is good. Because in that world too, him and Harcourt are together. And so in this one, when he's like, they're both kind of in this will they, won't they, over there, they already will they. And so there's a few
the grass
things.
Is always greener on the other side.
Grass is always greener. Yeah. That might be part of it. And also like, I think it'll be a reminder that like, you know, found family is better than, you know, natural family sometimes. I think that's something that so there might be some repeating themes from the first season, but with this new aspect of like the misfit toys are working well together.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good.
You know, and actually looking back at it, the first season, I think the key was that Peacemaker himself was the misfit toy. And I think in this season, we're learning that they're all misfit toys. Maybe that's another part of it too. Because you remember in last season, Adebayo was, she ended up like turning on her mom at the very end and ended up telling the press about Suicide Squad and everything like that. And in this season, like she's on the outs because of that. And people are like, man, you really messed things up because of that. But she knows she was doing the right thing. And so she's on the outs. So maybe we're going to see her too, like also kind of find her footing. It'd be really nice.
Yeah. Is there anything you would change so far of what you've seen?
Man, more episodes. I just waiting week to week is killing me. HBO has this habit where they'll release like two or three episodes. The first episode, or Disney Plus does the same thing. And I was banking on that. And no, it's literally been one episode per week. And it's like, damn, it's taking forever to get to the next episode already, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah. Do you think that suspense makes it any better, or would you rather just be the whole season released at once?
No, the suspense makes it way better. I hate to admit that sometimes, especially when I'm in the midst of watching it. But there are countless times where I'm just like, you know, hey, today's the day. Peacemaker's on tonight. You know, it's every Tuesday we have Alien Earth, and then we have on Wednesday we have Peacemaker. It's those two things. Boom, boom. So, yeah, it's been really good waiting for it.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got. That's good.
Yeah. So I would say, guys, right now it's off to a fantastic start. We've been doing reviews per episode over on Challenge Accepted and on our website. I try to get the review out that night on the website if I can, but it, you know, it comes out pretty late. So make sure you guys are watching along with us and then enjoying us over on Challenge Accepted to review every episode. It's been a real hoot, and I think that we're going to have a lot of complex questions going forward. James Gunn, so they send out the screeners, right? So people, to the reviewers, they send out the episodes ahead of time. Well, no screeners have gone out with the last 3 episodes. And James Gunn and a lot of the actors have said, like, those last 3 episodes are so wild, they essentially feel like an entirely different season. And they could not let them go out because it's inevitable something would leak, and they just cannot afford that to happen. That's how crazy the show's going to go with episodes 6, 7, and 8. So join us now when we're in episode 2 or 3, you know, type.
You know, I kind of like, we haven't seen this with Marvel. I don't think in the same way that the entire DCU or DCEU, however you call it, is pivoting on a series. It's all kind of launching everything from a show versus each movie builds this next stage and it launches from movie to movie. And we've seen where the TV shows were integrated in Marvel, but this looks like this series is actually going to be the tentpole that the movies branch from. And I think that's really cool. It kind of looks like that's where they're trying to go moving forward.
Well, I think what it boils down to is like Superman was kind of the launch of the DCU, right? But then this is like, okay, here's the big tentpole, sure. But then let's kind of explain everything a little bit more in Peacemaker. Let's set the world up a little bit more over here. So the movies could be these big things that kind of play a part in the world, but the shows, same thing with Creature Commandos, kind of let that world breathe a little bit more so they feel more real. So then when we see Superman again, which could be in the show, by the way, the last 3 episodes, Blue Beetle, Peacemaker's already said, like, Blue Beetle's in this world somewhere. So, I mean, all those players are still in the... We just already had Green Lantern and Hawkgirl in this, so we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they're letting the world kind of fill out a little bit more through the shows, and it's been a lot of fun to see. All right, guys, let's go over some network updates. So Thomas, again, he's on paternity leave. So he'll be, we have some pre-recorded episodes coming out, but we have a lot of guests coming in for Challenge Accepted. Jonathan, hopefully you can challenge me to a movie at some point too on that as well. We're covering Peacemaker every week, but we also have movies coming out, and the first guest is going to be next week for a movie. So shout out to everybody who's been joining me to kind of fill in for Thomas as he gets ready to be a new dad to a new boy. Thomas, I think 6th. He's like Thomas the 5th or whatever. So it keeps going down. That's cool. Pretty fun. And so that's going on over there. Outlast podcast. We've been reviewing every episode of Australian Survivor right now on our website. It's Australia versus the world. And as a Survivor fan, it's so different in a really interesting way. Like even the music's different, and how they like edit things is different. We're kind of catching all those little differences, and it's a lot of fun. And it's good to see the Americans be a bunch of badasses, you know, come into the Australians, and like they're so well known in across the world that like one of them, she's such a sweetie. It's like this girl, I think her name's Liz, this lady from New Zealand who. She gets there, she sees Saria, she's like, I'm just such a big fan. And then she's like, her game is messing up because she's too much of a fan of Sarean poverty. And it's fun watching Sarean poverty know that and use that.
Like you just follow us, you little sheep, and we're gonna put you in front and use you as a shield or something.
It's a really good season. It's just interesting to see another take on Survivor, a show that we know so well.
Cool.
This is Nerding. They've had a lot of really good guests on, but they just had Chad the Bird on, and it was for a 2-hour episode. So much fun, a lot of comedy going around. So check out This Is Nerding. They do twice a week, and it's a live show, so they actually broadcast it live and then put it out on a podcast form. So if you guys want to watch it live, that's where you go. You can actually give your input in the show as it's going on. It's over on YouTube. And then Fandom Portals are on sick leave right now as Aaron's under the weather, but he'll be back soon, and he's got a lot of really good things cooking up over there. Jonathan, what is your recommendation for the week?
Oh, so I touched on it earlier. It's my current obsession, though. It's King of the Hill. That new season of King of the Hill that just came out. It is so. It just. I mean, the story it went on while we were gone, and it kind of catches up. But it's very much the original writing, same vibes and everything. Just modern issues. It's very much modernized. So it's such a fun show to watch. I think I've seen the first 4 or 5 episodes, but I'm gonna try to get through the rest of it this week.
My big thing I keep coming back to with King of the Hill is I didn't think it was possible to bring back specifically King of the Hill because of how politically divided we are right now compared to back when it came out the first time. I didn't think they were going to be able to bring it back, and it feels so continuous. But it really does feel like it's just the next season. You know, they did a really good job with that.
And it's funny because like the political polarization of our country and stuff like that, it's just in the show too. It's not that it necessarily takes a hard stance on either side. It's just like, well, these guys are crazy this way and those guys are crazy that way. And some people are just like looking around wondering what the heck's going on around us.
It helps when you have a character like Dale that just kind of fits into that perfectly. You know?
You just lump all the insanity into a couple people.
And of course he thrives in that world too. It's like, oh, conspiracies are big? Let's bring in Dale Gribble.
Right. Let me start my own news network kind of thing.
Yeah. So I thought I was the last person on the planet to watch it, but apparently Jonathan has not watched it yet. So my recommendation for Jonathan and for anybody else who hasn't seen it yet, Kpop Demon Hunter. I finally watched it. The music is so damn good. Yes, it's on repeat. The story is so good. The colors are gorgeous. Very good visuals. And it's just generally a really fun story. And I watched it because of how big it was. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I can't miss. Same thing like Wicked. You're like, you have to watch it because it's so culturally important right now. It's now Netflix's biggest movie ever, and it already got crazy. And what's funny is Sony sold it to them as part of a bundle of other movies. Mitchell's and the Machines was part of that bundle as well, which is also very good. But anyways, it was part of a bundle that like Sony was like, we can't chance it on animation, so let's just like send this over to somebody else who wants it. And so Netflix bought the rights to it with like 5 of the movies, and they had to pay for like fees and stuff like that, and then they put it together. And now it's so big that they're having to like negotiate how to do a sequel. Sony luckily kept the rights to the music because 4 of the top 10 songs in the world right now are from this one movie. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And they're really good songs too. So guys, Kpop Demon Hunter, if you haven't given it a shot because you thought it was like for kids or for girls, like, oh, it's a girly. It's not. It's so damn cool. It's got a lot of anime-esque things.
See, that's what keeps me from it is I barely seen any anime. I'm just not super interested in anime in general. And I don't listen to K-pop. So the 2 things that I know about it are things that I'm not interested in. Right.
K-pop is interesting because it's just basically pop music, right? So, and it's in English. I mean, K-pop, 90% of K-pop's in English anyways. So there's that. And then for the anime aspect, I want to be clear. Like anime is Japanese, this is South Korean. I'm just saying like they're very cool fights. Because the idea is that there's these 3 pop stars are actually demon hunters, and and they're trying to get this like golden aura. So like right now when they sing, they like ignite the souls of people to create this aura that keeps demons at bay from hell. And they're trying to like create this perfect song that'll do like a golden aura that'll like lock demons away forever. Meanwhile, the devil and his demons are trying to break through, and they end up coming out with their own pop band, and it's so damn good. And there's a love story that actually feels very natural. I think your wife and your son are gonna love this, and you're gonna enjoy it too, Jonathan. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. It sounds kind of like the writing of Scott Pilgrim.
Think of Scott Pilgrim with like not just so think of Scott Pilgrim, but also think of like, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, Princess Zuko, what's her name? Azula's fighting. Oh. Like the way she moved, I was getting a lot of that. I was like, oh, that's so sick, Okay. So yeah, check that out, guys. It's a blast. All right, that's it for us this week on Geek Freaks. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Please drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure you guys follow us on all those social media platforms. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.